today you still need that human piece. You still need to be able to relay common business problems that you're trying to solve for and then asking them. No differently than asking a developer to do it, you're now asking an artificial intelligence agent to do it for you or to help you with it. I don't see it necessarily replacing, but it's certainly going to augment and enhance, and it could, as far as certain things like data entry and things like that, it would certainly replace some of those activities. But still, the interpretation of the data is going to be critical for us right now in our relationship with clients.
So, hi Todd, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Great, Todd. So, would love to start by learning a bit more about Whitestone and
Sure.
what you do there. So, please tell us.
Sure. I mean, Whitestone is a creative branding agency. So it's been around for 13 years. It's founded by a gentleman named Joe Summers, who's been a friend of mine for many years. Um, our core focus is in creating experiences for clients around branded merchandise and experiences, with a heavy emphasis on creativity and sustainability. So that's really where we're at.
Excellent, Todd. So, can you tell us a bit more about what you do at Whitestone?
So I've been here for about 10, 11 months. September I was when I started, but I'm the vice president of operations. So I oversee the big picture in terms of strategy and direction for the company in terms of everything sort of after the sales are made, right? So my job is to let our sales team make promises to our clients and figure out what they need, and then my job is to keep it. So and then we have teams and structure and workflows behind that to make that happen on a day-to-day basis.
Makes sense. So, essentially, you are responsible for pretty much everything operational post sales, right? I mean, making sure that the company meets the promises that the sales team has done and also the ongoing support for your customers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the name of the game. We want to be able to answer the bell when client needs something, and a lot of times, especially in a creative branding space, it can be really out there. So the goal is to be able to say yes to as many opportunities as possible and not be limited by process or technology or anything like that. So
Can you tell us a bit more about what the post-sale experience looks like for the customer, right? What are the general touch points? Why would they want to reach out to your team, and exactly how the resolution and the solutioning to all of those scenarios work?
sure. I mean, like we have our team is really good about connecting with all different types of companies from different sizes, different industries. That's the thing that's beautiful about this. We don't cater to a specific vertical or anything like that. But many times clients are coming to us sort of in two-pronged approach. It's typically like one-off type projects where they may have an event that they need help, producing, creative branded experiences. It could be by, South by Southwest or something like that, right? Then you also have clients that are of enterprise type clients where they're looking for more of a programmatic engagement for their employees or for their vendors or their customers and things like that. And so we'll create e-commerce experiences that are automated and in sync and manage inventory and branded merchandise for them, where it's very easy for employees to get what they want for the specific event or purpose that they're trying to do. A lot of times it's recruitment. A lot of times it's engagement with their employees, their existing employees, things like that. So that's ultimately where it starts. And then it comes down to, as we go through these processes with customers and individuals and stakeholders of these programs, it's about, they're always similar, but they're never the same. So there's always a lot of nuance. There's a lot of understanding. So our team is incredibly talented at really asking the right questions to get to the heart of what they need and what's going to make the experience not just good but great. So that process starts there, and then it comes into more of the operational side to get things produced and distributed, and many times on a global scale. So
And what kind of Can you tell us a bit more about the kind of teams that help you do this, right? What are the different roles, the different personas, and the different functions that the teams under you perform?
So yeah, I mean, we focus on once it comes to us at Whitestone and we're engaged with a client, we're dealing with our production team, which is a huge part of it. And they really, we call it production, but it is really an extension of that whole client experience. So once our sales team finds the opportunity, it's then brought to our production team where there's dedicated employees that take it from the moment it was approved to the delivery and then post sale. So the production team is really part of an extension of that. And then we also have created a technology team. We have a logistics department that deals with and fulfillment that deals with all of the issues that come up with global distribution of product and services. And then we have a full creative team, which is really a heart of Whitestone as well. We have got branded teams and marketing teams, and we have obviously our finance team. So
Okay. And you essentially oversee a lot of that, right?
a lot of that, not all of it, but a lot of it. I'm part of the executive team here, and so primarily under my purview right now, it's our production, our logistics, and our technology and overall strategic operations.
That's a fairly expansive, operational role, Todd. So, love to know about your career as to exactly how you landed up here, because this is a lot, and that covers a lot
Yeah,
of different colors. Right?
yeah. I mean, my career spanned over a few different things. I started out right out of college with entrepreneurial spirit. So, I got into sales and worked my way through different sales types of positions, both on a B2C level, B2B level, worked through management and had opportunities to lead teams and sales teams. And then I went into marketing roles, and then that translated to marketing operational roles. And all through it, it kind of all these things related to each other: how to communicate with customers, how to communicate within teams. Um, and then it led into a pure operational role at my last stop, which was a company called Thumbprint. So I worked there for about 12 years prior to coming to Whitestone. And with Whitestone, it was, at that time, after being with the company for 12 years, I was like, I was ready for some new challenges. And Whitestone came about. I've known Joe for many years, and Dominique, who's our president, I've known them for years, and they had opportunities here that they needed, my expertise that comes from seeing sales, marketing, and operations, and how to bring it together. So that's really, very much in a nutshell my career. So sales, marketing, ops, and now here I am.
So, I was looking at your LinkedIn, Todd, and as you just mentioned, you spent a significant amount of time at Thumbprint. So, would love to look
Hmm.
at that too. I understand that you also drove a significant revenue growth at Thumbprint while you were there. So, maybe you can
Yeah.
walk us through the entire journey as to exactly what it looked like when you came in, what transpired, and when you left, how did it look like?
I mean, it was incredible. I mean, it's where I really developed into who I am today professionally. I mean, it was an opportunity to go from a small family owned business dealing with customers at a fairly localized level or regional level to figuring out how to organically grow this business, in lieu of, we only had a very small acquisition at the time, but how to grow this business to where we wanted it. We knew exactly the same as Whitestone. The client experience is paramount. There's no sacrificing that along the way. But it doesn't mean that it was easy on the operational side. To be able to say yes to customers and be able to fulfill what their needs. Sometimes I wouldn't. You're going to have to be manual with it. You're going to have to invent processes and systems and bring in technology, and sometimes it's going to have to you have to make it work before it really works. And so there's some of that experimentation. I think no fear of failure, so it's okay to try something and have it not work, and that's fine. But being able to recognize when to pivot, so that was one part of it. Making sure we're focused on the client, making sure that there is no fear to achieving things, and then having really good people, really good process, and really good technology in place to be able to streamline things. So we cannot just throw bodies at problems. You can't just hire your way through it to take care of clients. Maybe initially you need to, but ultimately, what we want to do is have people in place that know how to utilize systems, processes, and technology, so you can aggressively scale. Obviously, with AI nowadays, that's going to make things that's going to change the game as well, even more towards that direction. But
Yeah. So, Todd, would love to know a bit about some of the most consequential decisions or initiatives that you might have taken at Thumbprint, right? Maybe if you can think of maybe two, three things that, in hindsight, were significantly impactful or game changing.
I mean, like just in at Whitestone or Thunder, at Whitestone, I mean, to be honest with you, my focus of here coming in has been it's an incredible organization. It's been around for 13 years. It's been growing organically, uh, very cleanly. We've had a series of acquisitions, so some of that, with acquisitions comes some challenges as well. But I think ultimately nothing was really broken with Whitestone. It's a fantastic business model and they do things really right. My goal was to come in on the edges and see what can we do to add that layer of technology, that layer of standard processes. Um, Again, make changes not for the sake of change, but for the sake of scale and progress. So those were that. So like right off the bat, some of the main things we've done is we've implemented software like Hiver, like Asana, um, to help us with project management and to be able to automate some of the manual processes. So I think that's one big thing. We've pushed the decision to move into some more sophisticated through third party logistics 3PL partners that can help us with our global scaling to manage projects and actual physical goods that we work with for our clients. Get that stuff so it's automated more and there's better accountability and transparency around it. So those are some of the big changes that we've pushed in the last year.
Okay, makes sense, right? So I understand that choosing the right tools, deploying them well. I think that is a big part of what you have been. And who thought are the key stakeholders for you, right? I mean, you have a big stack to handle, so many different functions. So how do
Mhm.
you decide which tools to buy? Who recommends those tools to you, and how do you go about making sure that you make the right decisions?
It's great. I mean, great question. Like I said earlier, like I'm not afraid for it to miss, but we want to try and avoid it at all costs. So, like even Hiver, in my old company, I was in Office 365, so I had no awareness of Hiver. But one of the acquisitions that Whitestone made last year, it introduced me to a teammate of mine. Her name is Thedgel, and she had worked with Hiver and had been in Gmail before. So when she showed me what she accomplished on a much smaller scale in her company that we acquired, I was like, boom, light bulb. This is amazing. So not only did I have Thedgel to help spearhead that and be a stakeholder and help implement Hiver in our organization, but it also gave us the ability to say, okay, this is where we can automate. So that's one case. But we started small, and the same thing with Asana. They had dabbled with different project management systems, but we had no real clear point of truth for task management within the company. It was in Slack, it was in Gmail, it was in Docs and Google Sheets. So the idea is to be able to bring that together. The way I look at it is you start small in a test case to really feel how it's going to work. So we started with departments and teams, specifically with Hiver, specifically with Asana, to make sure that we understood the impact it's going to have on the company. And then what happens is typically other departments start seeing that or start seeping in there a little bit. And it's easy to then say, okay, let's bring this department in, let's bring that one in, let's standardize it, but also make it so it's distinct for each department. Because the last thing we want to do is necessarily reinvent the wheel. What they're doing is good, but if we can put documented process behind it, it'll be better or improve the process, I should say.
Makes sense, John. One more question that came to my mind while I was listening to the answer to the last question is that with such a large operational span, right? I mean, how do you make sure, or how are you generally convinced, or sure that things are going well, right? I mean, what metrics, what dashboards basically give you a good view into the actual health of things at any given point of time?
It's a really good question. It's definitely a challenge that we have. I mean, certainly we've implemented pretty big changes in the last year. So tracking whether it's working or not is part of it. We use analytics pretty heavily, so we're everything that we're implementing, whether it's a technology or even a process, we are trying to identify the key metrics that are associated with that, and then we track it. So, for example, one of the things that we track is customer service hours that are spent. Before, it was done on a Google sheet, right? So we were tracking it, and every time someone would write an email or take a phone call, they'd tally it in a spreadsheet. Now we're tagging it in Hiver, or we're tagging it in Asana as a project. So from there, we now take that data. We use Zoho Analytics, so we're able to bring all that data into one place, one dashboard that allows us to see in real time how many customer service hours have been associated at a client level, at an individual, by an individuals within our company, and through tagging, we're able to see what type of customer service it was. So those are some of the ways we're doing it, but I think it's really important. And I have a great team that I work with where I think fairly high level. I think fairly strategically, and I'm looking to push the envelope where I have people that say, okay, let's take a step back before we go implement that. Let's make sure we have our checklist built. We've got the key performance indicators identified to say, okay, this is how we'll know it's working or not, and also how we're going to improve it. We're not going to just change for the sake of change, so we need to make a shift. So it's a combination of people and having the right mix of go get it type attitude, as well as, hey, let's stay grounded. Let's make sure we're doing this in the right format. And most of the time it works. Sometimes it doesn't. But
That brings you to the next question, which is, your learnings from driving so much change, in such a short span. I mean, if I understand, you have had 11 months at
Mhm.
Whitestone, and there is a lot of tooling changes, a lot of process changes, right? And I'm sure some of them might be adopted very readily, but I'm sure you'd have seen resistance also. So any learnings from that, and any learnings for leaders on how to learn from the pushback and then make things better, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think some of the mistakes that I make over the years is that, I'll push too hard and say, hey, let's make this change, let's go. I think one of the biggest things that I've learned over the years, especially at Whitestone, is to make sure that you listen to your team, engage your team, make sure that you've got the right people in there. You don't want just to surround yourself with yes people. You want to make sure that you've got a great team that's very diverse and eclectic, and you're listening to opinions and you're listening to ideas of how things can make better. And ultimately, you can make the final decision, but you at least have to have the information and the knowledge ahead of time. So when we look at implementing a system or a software or a process, it's important to get this additional perspective. I think that in and that's probably mistakes that I've made in the many years in the past is just push too hard too fast. But you also, the last thing you want to do is go slow and then have it paralysis by analysis, right? So there's that balancing act there. But yeah, I think having the right people around you that are going to give you really good feedback are going to and help you build that system out in detail, so that way you're not missing out on things. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, that does, right. Would love to also know more about your process or methodology of bringing a tool in, right? For example, you wanted to implement Jira or Hiver, right? How did you go about it? Did you work on training materials? Did you find a champion? How did you make sure that you have adherence and adoption as quickly as possible?
Yeah, I mean, I think the wonderful thing about Whitestone is they have this, everyone here has this thirst, or well, let's put it this way, everyone will be quick to tell you what doesn't work, the parts, like it's very easy to identify where they're frustrated or where there's a challenge, and that's good. We want them to not hold that stuff in. I always want people to ask, why do we do it that way? And that way, if it's always been done that way, then that's something we need to take a look at. If there's clarity, then at least that helps us. But in terms of like implementing software, yeah, you have to have a champion, you have to have it or a department or both that's gonna take it and run. In the case of like our customer support department, it was very easy. It was a fragmented type system. Emails would come in and we just kind of catch it. Whereas now we have very clear process, very clear system. And previous my director of strategic operations, that she was able to take that and run with it and understand. Okay, here's how we're going to identify the problems and the things that we need to how to triage different requests and issues that come through for the customer support, and we're able to identify it, tag it, and put it through a process. So that's one of it. Asana was a little different. Asana had been kind of floating around there, but it was used very haphazardly and inconsistently. And from there, we've gone ahead and applied more of a standardization of how to use it. Again, lots of flexibility in there, so departments can do what they need to do. They can add their fields. They can, workflows that work within those departments. I wouldn't want to tell them exactly how to run their department or anything like that, but give them blueprints that they can use and training that they can use to help them execute it. So in the case of Asana, we started by building a technology team from scratch. We took people that were already within the company and working on a lot of these types of things, building stores and storefronts for our clients, and coalesced it into an official team department. We used clear SLAs. We created a ticketing system that hadn't been there before. Before it was just a series of Slacks and an email and things like that. So we standardized it. We looked at what are the 80% of the requests that would come into our e-commerce technology people. We standardize into a logical format that creates that ticketing system, and then that ticketing system flows either into a few different systems with Asana as more of the request management, and then from there it made it transparent for everybody in sales and operations and finance. And then the other departments started saying, hey, I want to apply that to my department. And so we work with them directly as overseeing from operation side just to say, okay, here's how we can help you implement that. And then we empower them to go do their part and make it work and come in and help at the end and tweak.
Beautiful. Absolutely. Todd, could you also tell us a bit more about Hiver, right? I mean, your before and after of Hiver, exactly what it looked like and the impact that it did make for you.
Yeah, I mean, like before, it was just a series of emails just being managed through. A lot of people had shared credentials into single inboxes and things like that, which A is not really secure, and B it's again also the haphazard approach. Who's responsible for this? If an email comes in, you've got four people. Who's taking it? So those are the types of questions that would come in. Same with escalation issues, like who does it go to next if there's an issue that I can't answer as a customer support professional, like who do I go to? So what we did is we had to look at it from that side, and then we brought Hiver in and layered that in and started with just this enterprise level customer support for these stores, and created those shared inboxes and tagging system. And so that really changed the world for us. And then the next part was tracking those customer service hours, because many times it's a billable instance. So we had to have clarity on that. So rather than waiting till the month end to provide a spreadsheet, we're able to give real time data based on the tagging and the category, the fields within Hiver to be able to relay that to customers and for finance for billing. So it's kind of worked out really well in that sense. And now it's rolling out into other areas. It's in our logistics department. It's in our production department, where ticketing and emails can go to the one standard place where we can now delegate it and tag it and distribute it accordingly. So it's going to be a huge piece of ours, enough that we went from a monthly to a annual subscription. So we felt good enough at that point.
Great to hear that, Todd. And we have a lot coming, right? I mean, I am actually personally involved in a lot of the development around AI. So a lot
Mm-hmm.
more coming for you, and would love to show you more, right? But that brings me to the last subject for the conversation, right? Which is AI in general, not just in the context of Hive or customer service, but how do you see AI impacting how you do and what you do, right from your designs to production to customer service?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. The answer now will, I'm sure, change in 3 months from now as AI is evolving so rapidly. But we're utilizing it uh, at different departments at different levels. I mean, personally, within the operation and the technology side, it's just a massive uplift. I mean, we can now get things coded without that we normally would have to outsource. It's as simple as a prompt into something like a cursor or a lovable or whatever. So the idea that we're now able to get this type of lift is huge. And it's saving us it's saving us real dollars in terms of outsource. So there's that. The other side of it is, though, it's also given us the opportunity to really think, because everything's about the prompt, everything's about the business case, everything's about the product roadmap. So what exactly goes into that? Today, you still need that human piece. You still need to be able to relay common business problems that you're trying to solve for, and then asking them. No differently than asking a developer to do it, you're now asking an artificial intelligence agent to do it for you or to help you with it. There's also the QA side of it where, like, okay, did it spit out the proper stuff? So now there's other tools out there that work on the quality assurance. So some of that stuff is still, it still requires a lot of intervention. I think it'll evolve as well, where it will need less and less of that over the coming months and years. But that's one piece of it. I think also in terms of looking at data within on the other side of our business from the sales and marketing side, obviously there's a massive opportunity for us to adopt AI to help us to really cultivate our messaging as we go to market, pre-sales as well as post-sales, to make sure that we are delivering properly to what and enhancing that client experience. We're also using it today with certain software specific to our industry within branded merchandise. We're using it to help us with presentations, making much more of a customized approach to putting the right solution or the right ideas in front of the customer. That being said, as of right now, there's no really our creative department, the intellect, the creativity, the skill set. It's very nuanced. It's specific to the customers. It's still going to be very difficult to translate some of that into the AI world. So aside from in some places, if you just want to put a logo on something, AI can handle that. But if you're trying to understand the qualities, the qualitative type inputs that you're getting from your clients through conversations, through visitations, through knowing them on a personal level, what's going to make their customers tick, like, it's still fairly challenging to be able to get that without humans. Um, so there's a lot of that. So I don't see it necessarily replacing, but it's certainly going to augment and enhance, and it could, as far as certain things like data entry and things like that, it would certainly replace some of those activities. But still, the interpretation of the data is going to be critical for us right now in our relationship with clients. So
Makes sense. I think that is a very good overview, and I think that is also very widely applicable to a lot of different industries and a lot of different kind of functions. Right? Great.
yeah,
I
I mean,
think
I
Todd,
think it's
that
amazing. I mean, I like to see even like on Hiver, like the AI, component of that. That's huge. I mean, when you're looking at just our customer support side, to be able to have insights developed on the fly automatically without us having to go in there, that's going to be a massive lift. And I know that there's AI components being built out every day within Hiver, and our other tools as well, as they integrate through your API or through Asana, or smashing up the data from our CRM with that with other parts is huge. So
absolutely, yeah, very exciting. Absolutely, right. So,
it really is. Yeah, I think it's super super cool. What's coming down the road for our.
absolutely. Yeah. Great, Todd. That's all I had, and I think it was
Cool,
great
man.
to learn from you, and I'm sure this will be a great conversation that a lot of us are going to enjoy. So, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you, bud.